As societies around the world continue to cope with varying degrees of lockdown, a lot of business owners have had to figure out how best to keep staff, keep them busy and keep them interested. Online training is the way to go for many, prompting a huge growth in web-based professional development. Fergus Nicol got his notepad out and headed back to school online.
You're a very busy leader, and you may be thinking, why do you need to focus on enhancing your resilience?
This is Gemma Lee Roberts, a British psychologist and executive coach, presenting the opening module for a course called Building Resilience as a Leader on LinkedIn Learning. From management training to understanding cryptocurrencies, from intelligent robot process automation to graphic design, course providers around the world have seen a surge of demand as professionals embrace a productive, at-home alternative to box set binging. Josh Graff is the head of LinkedIn UK.
We've seen a 50% week-over-week increase in learning content being streamed on LinkedIn Learning. Last week alone, that was 1.2 million hours around the world. And what's been particularly interesting for us is to see the difference in the type of courses that people took prior to COVID and now during the pandemic. Before COVID, the top 3 global learning courses around the world last year were very technical. They were Excel, they were project management, programming. Today, it's pivoted towards productivity skills. Now it's about thriving at work, productivity tips, time management. So very different type of course that people are taking in light of the current pandemic. And there are certainly large numbers of people that sadly have been furloughed or made redundant. And in many cases, people have had to shut down small to medium businesses that they own. And in many respects, I think that is what has driven the increase in learning on the platform over the last few weeks.
Here in the UK, the spring has been glorious. How much more frustrating then for professional gardeners not to be allowed to travel to work? But in our new landscape of furloughing and working from home, they too are getting used to new ways of learning.
The cottage garden was the original sustainable garden, and that was mostly due...
This is a webinar on environmental sustainability in public gardens. There are dozens of professional horticulturalists attending, watching this opening presentation by Rebecca Slack, UK coordinator of the Plant Network, poised with their questions and comments. So here's my question for Rebecca. How do these online sessions meet the needs of people who really want to be getting their fingernails dirty in the garden itself?
We've always provided training courses, usually in-garden training courses, to professional horticulturalists. It's just a different format. We're just having people, instead of being face-to-face, are on their screen. And professional horticulture is very much about learning new skills and new practices and sharing the results of the latest research. And some of that can't be done with dirty fingers. You do need to sit down and talk and learn. And we're just doing that in a slightly removed way.
In terms of light at the end of the tunnel, some people are going to go back to gardens that are going to need a lot of extra work.
Yes, there's going to be a huge backlog of work. And also because most of our members are public gardens and they'll be opening to the public. So they'll be managing visitor expectations and this backlog of work. So it's going to be tough. So that's why we're providing training now. And it's a good opportunity to network so that people can learn new ways maybe of approaching their garden when they get back into it. Quick fixes if possible.
This course is terribly important because we're confronted with an unprecedented outbreak, lots of uncertainties, and it's going to be very important that as many people as possible understand what is going on.
Professor Peter Piot at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, welcoming subscribers to a course offered on futurelearn.com entitled COVID-19 Tackling the Novel Coronavirus. The course is designed for healthcare professionals, as well as anyone interested in how we should respond collectively to the outbreak, and its success is part of a wider surge in online course attendance. Simon Nelson is the CEO at FutureLearn.
At FutureLearn, we've seen 1.2 million enrolments in the month of March. That's compared to what we would normally expect, maybe around 300,000. So a huge upsurge in traffic, and that's continued into April, and that's been driven by a few headline courses, one of which is the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine's course on the coronavirus. It got underway on the 23rd and has already seen 150,000 people sign up to it, making it one of the biggest courses we've ever had on FutureLearn.
Are they all following in English?
Most are using English language for the majority of the course, but in order to make it as accessible as possible all over the world, we've ensured that it's translated into and the videos and audio are subtitled in multiple additional languages. We've been welcoming in a range of academics from all over the world and different healthcare systems in different parts of the world.
Simon Nelson and his colleagues already have more coronavirus-specific courses in the pipeline. Dr. Debbie Burris is a virologist and molecular biologist based in Atlanta, Georgia, and she told us about a training course that's going up online in about 10 days, COVID-19 Diagnostics and Testing.
We all recognize it's just been so rapidly moving, and it's really brought testing to the forefront. And so we felt that this was definitely an opportunity and a need to talk about the role of diagnostics. One of the things that this course brings about, and we're seeing this hopefully more and more, is the sharing of information, the transparency, that this community, where it's really international collaborators that are coming together and trying to help each other out in order to share knowledge, understand data. But a course such as this then really puts the community, the learners, the experts, everyone comes together. And hopefully, what we walk away with is greater knowledge of what is happening so that we can help the global and public health experts, the clinicians, et cetera, all that are at the front line of COVID-19 testing.
Dr. Debbie Burris there, ending that report from Fergus Nicol. Sharon Brett Kelly in Auckland, you've got kids, any of them due to sit exams that have been cancelled because of school or university closures?
Yeah, Rob. Well, my daughter was doing in fact, she was doing a super yacht course at a tertiary institute just north of Auckland, and they had to finish it 2 weeks beforehand. So she, in fact, missed out on going out for 5 days in a super yacht, which is pretty tough, and hopefully she'll go back to that, because she wouldn't get her full certificate if she doesn't. But my son, who's in his 4th year of law at Victoria University in Wellington, they have just been told that everything will be internally assessed. There'll be no exams this semester, and then they hope to resume. Things will go back to normal in the second semester, so the second half of the year. But basically, everything is on hold at his university for a month.
What would they make of a transition to doing an awful lot of this learning online? Because we have found out, not just this, but many things during this pandemic, that things we thought couldn't be done online actually can.
Yeah, that is a surprising thing, isn't it? And in fact, before New Zealand went into full lockdown, my son was doing most of his work, his studies online anyway. So, and I guess, the lectures can all be done online. Most of the universities, that's what they were doing. And it will be interesting also in the workplace. The companies that I have spoken to, they've said that there'll be a lot more people working from home because they've worked out how they can do it, and it works well for the staff, and it works well for the company. So I'm actually quite keen to get back to the office, but it hasn't been too bad working from home, I suppose. I just like the company and the stimulation of the office.
Yeah, there is something to be said for having a daily routine that involves you leaving the same couple of rooms. I mean, I'm broadcasting to you from a makeshift studio in our spare room in our 2-bed second floor flat in London. It's not the easiest of places to work. Well, wife and baby are asleep in a different room. It would be nice to get out again. But do you think you will perhaps work from home more often, even when this is done, because you found out that you can?
Well, in fact, I don't think I can, because when I go back to working on the podcast, I really need to be in the studio and I need to work on an editing system that I can't access from home. But I imagine that quite a few people, journalists can work from home. They use the phone, they use Skype, they use Zoom, whatever it is that's needed. And I would say a lot more will be working from home, yeah. But,
Right.
I mean, as you might be able to hear, there's a chainsaw going on in the background. So it's
I can't hear that.
great.
Hopefully it's not your tree they're chopping down.
No.